Zoe Kravitz makes her featured directorial debut in Blink Twice. It's a thriller with Channing Tatum and Naomi Ackie. Can Kravitz capture magic this first time out? When tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. So, coming from the popular phrase for subtly asking if somebody's in danger, Blink Twice features a large cast that throws abandon to the wind as they embrace a hedonistic and carefree vacation away from everything. In addition to Naomi Ackie and Channing Tatum, this features Adria Arjona, Alia Shawkat, Christian Slater, Joel Osment, Geena Davis, Simon Rex, and Kyle MacLachlan. Now, I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but the story does a great job of setting up this slow building sense of unease or distrust. I mean, it's not immediate, but small looks or sketchy body movements from characters set the tone for a vague, unsettled vibe. And in this movie in particular, the reasoning and impetus for that vibe, it isn't confirmed or smudged out until well into the story. So we get to sit with this discomfort, just that nagging feeling our characters are also experiencing, that something might be slightly amiss. Now, I'm beginning to love more and more as actors step behind the camera to create new visions. I mean, they have a certain perspective that directors who've never acted before, they just don't have. And Kravitz creates some very sweeping and immersive sequences that become dreamlike just because of how entrancing the visual stylistics are. Now, there's one scene in particular that stood out to me while I was watching. It's this party and dance sequence where characters are simply having a great time on this vast lawn area. As they swing around each other and switch dancing partners, similar to a square dance, but without the stiffness and rigidity of structured moves, the camera follows seamlessly around and through the dancing. I mean, it's never breaking up the characters or their movements, but it's also maintaining a continuous shot that lasted for at least a full minute. I mean, it was beautiful and captivating, and when the thoughtfulness of the shot was combined with the lighting and then the costume design, the whole scene became somewhat surreal, almost trance-like. And that's something that's consistent throughout. There's a ton of symmetry within the compositions. Not to the anal degree like you'd see in a Wes Anderson film, but here it's used to center the objects, obscuring what might be happening around while also allowing an intimacy with the subject so that we can get the depth of emotions that are being conveyed. And the colors are also striking. Mainly our characters are dressed in white, making them a stark contrast to everything else around them, whether that be the deep red of the mansion that the group is staying at or the bright greens of the surrounding jungle. Each of the characters, they take on a persona of purity, even if their behaviors are the furthest from that sentiment. Now, when I came out of the theater, I likened this a bit to Get Out mixed with an experience with the Lotus Eaters of Homer's Odyssey. The Get Out part comes from just the general unease we feel for our characters. And then the Lotus Eaters comes about because of the carefree, blissful living that the characters embody when on this vacation island. It's freeing, but also somewhat wonky. Not wonky in the awkward or unenjoyable meaning, just something's not quite right, and we hope the characters figure out what's going on before things get all messed up. And even though there is a lot of music that plays during this, especially as the participants party, the film also utilizes an excellent lack of soundtrack and score so that the unease and dread are just enhanced. The silence and that lack of background noise, it works to place us even more into the character situations, showcasing the isolation and the vulnerability that each of them face, even though they're around other people with shelter and then plenty of food and supplies. Naomi Ackie is spectacular in her role as Frida. Now, she doesn't come from money, but she is aspirational, and when the opportunity arises to go on this mind-blowing vacation, she takes it. I love the looks that she begins to develop and then deliver to the camera as the story moves along. She notices small things that kind of make her senses tingle, but because they're ill-defined for her, and she really has no basis for any suspicion, this uncertainty creates a sort of unreliability to her character. Is she just being paranoid? Or has she had too much sun? Maybe too much to drink? Or is something nefarious actually going on? The camera does give away things a little bit too much by lingering too long, which I think is unfortunate. On the whole, though, the mystery aspect of the plot, it's pretty obscured until the story chooses to unveil it. And when it does, this patient drama becomes a full-blown thriller. I mean, the last act is just bonkers. So as the first two-thirds of the movie have been slowly building tension, the powder keg explodes, and we are rewarded with some unhinged madness. And through all this, I love how Channing Tatum crafts his character. He's charismatic, but not silly. I mean, so many times we see a comedic Tatum. Here, though, he's way more grounded and mature. Not garish or larger than life, even though he does showcase eccentricities just thanks to his extreme wealth and then all that it affords. There's a slight edge to him, but because of the background info that is presented, it feels natural and it's understandable, creating this certain genuineness to his character. And the other cast members also deliver some excellent performances, especially with Adria Arjona, who she just has to showcase a believable arc that makes us endeared to her. And that's not easy, because for so much of the film, she's a self-important bee. I mean, she's off-putting and abrasive. So in order to gain the audience sympathy, she has to give us something that comes across as natural and logical. And she succeeds. Now, if you've watched any of my reviews before, you know I love a good social commentary. And this one contains a very biting, if not overt, take on society and behaviors. Now, I think some of it came across as preachy towards the end, taking the subtlety that had been present and then saying all the parts out loud. Sometimes, though, that's needed just so that the ones that the message is intended for have an easier time understanding. And I think the very end is convenient, too. Even though I did still enjoy it and I found it satisfying, there are just some conveniences that are at play that are glossed over to make it all finish up nicely. So for me, this was a wild ride. Blink Twice is an unexpected thrill that led me through a seductive and invigorating drama to end up at a bat-crap crazy finale. Naomi Ackie is spellbinding as she slowly unveils the mystique of her vacation, showing wide-eyed disbelief and horror while also delivering a guttural internal strength that will make you cheer. And although the messaging can be a little too direct and the ending is rife with plot conveniences, the overall ride is beautifully mesmerizing in a psychotically deranged sort of way. There's sex, some nudity, a ton of profanity, and some very disturbing and gruesome violence. I give Blink Twice 4.5 out of 5 couches. Zoe Kravitz has started out with a banger, so it's going to be interesting to see where she goes from here. And hopefully she continues this trajectory and then continues to deliver spectacular films. All right, so have you seen any great thrillers lately? I'd love to know what you watched in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.